Well, hello, and welcome to a very rare video from me, Seth Looks. I don't consider myself much of a YouTuber, as you can tell by looking at my channel. I don't really make videos, hardly at all, and not for a very long time. And am I part of the vinyl community? Yeah, well, I guess supposing in that I buy vinyl records, I suppose I am. But I saw this Rob Walker vinyl community tag 2023, 20 questions, going around. I remember seeing the videos for last year's questions, and I thought it might be fun to do. So I'm going to do it. I don't have a massive collection. My fiance and I, we decided to get into it last year. Last Christmas was kind of our gift to each other was to get a Fluence turntable and speakers and a receiver from Cambridge. And then we just completely went nuts for months and months buying vinyl records like crazy people. Over the last year, we've kind of toned it down and we're not buying like mad. We're given a bunch of records from my dad's old collection and some records from her brother's. So I was able to get together enough stuff to answer these questions for the most part. There's a couple questions I just don't have an answer to. So let's get into it. So question one, favorite new release of 2022? I say it's one step forward, two steps back from the Bruce Lee Band from Asian Man Records. The song Have You Found the Money Farm, I think, is just tremendous. I love the heck out of it. Got horn playing from Skatoon Networks. Look them up on YouTube. Incredibly talented guy. Love Mike Park. All the way back to Skank and Pickle. Check him out. Number two, band or solo artist you last saw live. Ooh, I haven't been to a concert since well before the pandemic. And I'm not even completely sure what the last live concert I saw was. My fiance believes it was a Beatles tribute band. I don't remember at all. Technically, the last live music I saw being performed was recently when we were at Disneyland in the downtown Disney area one night. There was a cover group. I have no idea what they're called. And as we were walking around, we heard them play some songs and we saw them on a stage. So I guess that. Number three. Their first album was the best. I'm picking Pearl Jam 10. I really like this album, and I really fell off interest on Pearl Jam after this album. I listened to the heck out of it when it first came out on cassette tape. This was a two-disc version where you have the original mix on one disc and a remix on the other disc. I don't know if I was very unlucky, but the original disc in my copy here sounds terrible. It's super noisy, poppy and clicky. I cleaned it and cleaned it again and cleaned it thrice, and it didn't help. The remix disc sounded much better, not just because it was cleaner and quieter, but I think it was a big improvement. I really like the remix of Pearl Jam 10. Number four, Hat Trick. So this is something you own on vinyl, CD, and cassette. I don't have any of my old cassettes anymore. I don't have most of my old CDs anymore. That I did this big purge in like the 2010s and got rid of almost everything. And I really racked my brain. Did I ever have anything on all three? And I don't believe I did. There are things that I had on cassette and CD, and there's things I had on CD and vinyl. But I can't think of a single thing I had on all three. So number five. Album that starts and ends with the same letter. Digital Underground, Sex Packets. I was really excited to find this at a record store that was going out of business. They had almost nothing, but they had this left, and I grabbed it. Fun story, when this album came out, my brother got it on cassette tape, and I said, hey, let me listen to that. And he said, okay, here you go. But hey, if mom and or dad are home while you're listening to it, don't listen to the Sex Packet side. I don't want them to take it away. I listened to it when mom and or dad weren't home, so I didn't have to worry about that. Sex Packets, fun album. R.I.P. Shock G. A lot of fun, that one. Number 6, someone born the same year as me. This one was really tough. I looked through a giant list of musical artists born the same year I was, and there wasn't a lot that I would have an album from, and I was really stressing out. There's a couple good acts like Alanis Morissette. I would like to get Jagged Little Pill on vinyl. I don't have it now. And I was really getting worried I wasn't going to find anything, but it turns out, lo and behold, I share a birth year with Meg White of the White Stripes. So I got a greatest hits from Target. Most listened to album in 2022. Speaking of the White Stripes, Jack White's Fear of the Dawn. Really cool. I kind of bought this by chance. Like, I hadn't heard it, and I thought, well, it's Jack White. It can't be that bad, and I liked it a lot. This is a special color. Ooh, check it out. Some of these other ones are special colors too. I don't know why I felt like that was the one I needed to show you. I did. Number 8, most listened to artists in 2022. So this being our first year as vinyl collectors, we're getting a bunch of records, and I was obsessed with getting a very specific band. So as we get new records, we listen to them, and then they get filed into the shelves. And until we listen to them, they're kept in various crates. So to just working through, the band I listened to the most this year was Devo, because Devo's my favorite band. And I really had to get everything. This album I got, I believe, in 2012 when it came out. Saw it at a record store. Didn't have any idea about getting into vinyl at the time. Just thought it would be a cool thing to have. And I completely forgot it was in a box. I found the box, and it was in the box, in the bag that I brought it home in. I was like, what's this bag from the local record store that doesn't exist anymore? And I pulled it out and went, oh, fantastic. Australian artist or band. Now, there's a bunch of Australian artists or bands that I like. I don't have any of them on vinyl. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. And this is an album of covers from Australian artists or bands. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, Go Down Under. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, absolutely tremendous. They're the greatest, or one of. It's a Fat Mike from NoFX, some folks from some other punk and rock bands, a little bit of a super group, as it were, and they only do punk rock covers of various songs. This was, speaking of colored albums, colored vinyls, this is a 10-inch also. This was in a lot of colors. And it's got Never Tear Us Apart, All Out of Love, Friday on My Mind, Have You Ever Been Mellow, and I've Done Everything for You, from Australia. Number 10, a record people would be surprised you purchased in 2022. I saw this in a thrift store. It was $1. The cover was funny. I wasn't really familiar with this group whatsoever. And I thought, hey, it's $1. And it's beat up. It plays real rough. Sounds terrible. But I bought it for $1. It's the Baja Maramba Band's greatest hits. I mean, look at these guys. They look like some fun guys. Artist or band you're complete on. This one is a little bit of a cheat, I suppose. Because here's the thing with this category. When you say complete, what are we talking about? Are we talking about studio albums or everything they ever released? Because if you're talking about that, that could be crazy and very limiting. Like, you're going to hunt down every out-of-print live album and greatest hits, number ones, singles, 45s. Like, how hardcore are we going on this? So I'm going to consider studio albums. And it's a little bit of a cheat because their last studio album I did own, and it got ruined and I had to throw it away. And they're very expensive now. I have yet to get a replacement, but I will. In the meantime, that band is Devo. I'm not going to hold up all of them that I have, which is everything else except for Something for Everyone. But I'm going to hold up Total Devo and Smooth Noodle Maps. These were tough to get. They are imports because these were not from their Warner Brothers deal. These were after Warner Brothers on a record label that doesn't exist anymore. So no one seems to know who has the rights. It doesn't seem like the band can do anything with these albums, as far as I know. Maybe one of them will see this and tell me otherwise. But this is how I had to get them. And that's how I got them. Number 12, a great run of 3 albums. This is another tough one because, you know, we got an unreasonable number of records in one year, but not necessarily a lot from single bands and necessarily ones that would be considered 3 great ones in a row. Really close. I got a lot of 2s. There's some groups like the Lennon Claypool Delirium that only have 2 albums. They're both great. But these are 3 albums that I got from my dad. These were 80s reissues of these albums. He's keeping his originals. But it is Cream. I'm going to hold up their first 3. They have 4 studio albums. I suppose you could do the first 3 or the last 3. You can go either way with it, but it's a safe bet. This one's really neat. This was a Japanese reissue, and it has the Obi strip that is really pushing the fact that Eric Clapton is in the group. They really wanted you to know Eric Clapton's in there. 80s soundtrack album. Now, we only had a couple choices for this because we don't have very many soundtrack albums, let alone 80s soundtrack albums specifically. We have some more recent ones that have 80 songs on them. So, but that kind of seems like it might be cheating a little bit. So here's from an anime movie, Akira. Incredible album. Whether or not you like anime, there's some great music on here. Really incredible stuff. Hard to describe it, but you have like symphonic mixed with rock and synth and all like they use some big rhythm instruments from a Polynesian island that I'm blanking on the name of, and I apologize to all the folks of that island. Definitely check it out. Whether you ever care to see this movie or not, this soundtrack is really, really tremendous. Someone we lost in 2022. A lot of tremendous artists passed away this last year. It's always a bummer, but you know, none of us make it out of life alive. I'm gonna say Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters. I've watched a lot of these vinyl community videos, and I'm kind of surprised not more people shouted out Taylor Hawkins. A lot of Loretta Lynn's. A lot of folks doing Loretta Lynn. I thought Taylor Hawkins was an easy layup. And lucky for me it was, because this is all I got for people who passed. Disappointing purchase in 2022. This album, The Breeders' Last Splash, is one of my favorite records. I love this record a lot. It, in and of itself, is not a disappointment. This pressing is. When I went looking for it online to get a copy, I saw some pressings that were very expensive, and I saw some that were reasonable. So I got a reasonable one. Not even cheap, just reasonable. And I guess there's a reason why they're reasonable and not really expensive. This pressing is very noisy, lots of pops and clicks. Super bummer. I'll have to hunt down one of those less reasonably priced ones, I suppose. A non-vinyl purchase. They give examples like maybe you bought a CD or a book. I suppose it should be music related. So I got this from New Wave Toys. It's the M90 boombox. New Wave Toys, they make a lot of scale video game replicas. So like 1/6 scale like arcade cabinets that fully function to play the video game. This is the first in what's supposed to be a line of Bluetooth boom boxes. This thing is very heavy. Connects to Bluetooth, plays all the stuff. It has some EQ settings. A lot of these, not all of these knobs and dealy-doos are functional, but the ones that are, you have a couple EQ settings, a fader, volume. The little cassette deck door opens and has this completely non-functional but super fun little mini cassette tape. The radio tuner works, and you have two extending aerials. Ooh, don't want to bend that. The tuner fully functions. I wish these little EQ visualizer needles bounced around, but they don't. It sounds great. This is the last Bluetooth speaker I'll ever need. This is fantastic. Good luck getting one if you watch this and think, ooh, I want that. They're hard to find now. I'm sure, I haven't looked, but the secondary market for stuff like this can be completely ridiculous. But they're supposed to be doing other boom boxes. So that might be something to keep an eye out for if you think that was neat. We are getting near the end. Number 17, you found a Grail. I didn't find this, but this is a Grail album for me. My fiance got it for me on my birthday. She found it. It is the Talking Heads' Stop Making Sense. This is my favorite live album I've ever heard. And the movie is great. I suppose this also could have been an 80s soundtrack. Check out the movie. Check out the album. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but if you are, that's on you. 18, a space-themed album, sleeve, or song. Another anime soundtrack, Cowboy Bebop. This is a show set in space. And I think one of the songs has space. Yeah, Space Lion is one of the tracks. Cosmos is another track. There's all kinds of space stuff going on in here. And you know what's fun with this? I pre-ordered it on one site, forgot, and then pre-ordered it on another site. So I got an extra copy, just in case anything terrible happens to this one. I'm set. Show some VC, LT, or a present. This was a present. Just got it for Christmas. My dad gave this to us. He bought this, I think he said, in 1982. I saw this most of my life growing up. It is this Beatles EP box set collection. This is reprints of all of the Beatles EPs from the UK. A lot of these, this is how some of these songs were released in the UK, like the Magical Mystery Tour here. And then they were kind of bundled up and released on LPs for the US. But like these are complete reproductions of their original sleeves. So the Magical Mystery Tour had this little booklet in it. And you got your vinyl inside. And thank you. This is an extremely cool little set. I appreciate receiving it a lot. Finally, show an album released in 1973. 50-year anniversary album. None of the albums I picked out and purchased over this last year were from 1973. So I had to go into my fiance's collection to find something. And it is an album I enjoyed. It's one that I did not know before she got it. Like, I was aware of the group, but I never heard this album. But it's pretty good, and I liked it, so I'm going to use it. It's 10cc by 10cc. If you never heard of 10cc, I don't blame you, because I wasn't really familiar with any of their stuff either. But two of the members made some of the best looking, most well-remembered music videos of the 1980s. They became video directors. And so even if you don't know the band, if you watched MTV growing up, you've seen their work, at least a couple of their works. So that was it. That was the vinyl tag for 2023, a rare video for me, Seth Look. Maybe I'll do more videos more often, maybe I won't. Depends on how much internal cringe I feel having to look at myself in video while I edit this. I suppose we'll all find out together. Until then, goodbye.